Sitaram, Dr. Raj, the Hindu from Trinidad. You know, when I state facts on my videos that I do research. Some persons don't like my research, but my research is rooted in the facts and truth. So anytime I talk about Sanatan Dharma, anytime I talk about us and our ancient past, it's things that were confirmed by scientists, by our Vedas, Puranas, Sastras, the Gita, you name it, we have a book that spoke of it thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Let me give you a good example. When 90% of the world, well, we were always 1/5 of the world. So when 80% of the world was running around naked with leaves or loincloths, our women were dressed in saris. And if you don't believe that, in the Gita, read the story of Draupadi. You will realize that she, no matter how much they tried to take off a sari, more sari appeared from the good Lord. But let me give you a bit of historical facts for those of you who don't know. In Trinidad, there's a dish called Palau. I did my research when I was on radio, and I told the audience that Palau is not an African dish. Although a lot of Africans, like in Trinidad, like to lay claim to Palau. Palau is an East Indian dish. And when I did my research, I found out that the Kshatriya warriors who were part of the Roman Empire army, because they went to help, some of them ended up being cooks in the Roman Empire army thousands of years ago. And they introduced biryani, which was called Palau in North India, to the Romans. Palau works its ways down the Europe. But the Europeans did not name it Palau. They had their own word for it. But there's a historical fact that in England, North England, when the Romans had occupied North England, there was a massive massacre of all the Roman soldiers. Only one person survived, and he was an Indian soldier in the Roman army. And this is a historical fact. If you don't believe me, there's a movie called The Eagle, which highlights this. And he was the cook, but he also was the man who used to cook Palau. And I guess the British picked up with it. But when the East Indians came to Trinidad, you see the East Indians all over the world, more so Trinidad, because I'm a Trinidadian, so I know what we did in Trinidad. We invented many things. A simple thing as the dantal. You don't see that in any Indian movie or any Indian stage presentation. The dantal. Research it. Find out what is a dantal. That is a Trinidadian East Indian invention. The very same thing with the food that people call Palau. It is a Trinidadian East Indian invention. And if you don't believe me, tell me where in Africa there's a large consumption of rice. Rice is an East Indian thing. It's from Asia. So clothing, which was worn, was sold by the merchants to the Romans. And the Roman women used to wear saris. They didn't call it saris. The men used to wear dhoti, and they used to call it toga. So you see, when people think of us as inferior beings, and we are persons who don't know things and invented things, think again. We Sanatanists did it, because in those days had no other religion but Sanatan Dharma, and other pagan religion, as what they call pagan religion in Europe. But we made sure that we spread the word, and the world got to know about East Indian culture, about things from India through Sanatan Dharma. So, don't get caught up with these idiots who are trying to convert, or some of them trying to even come on my TikTok and make comments that, oh, you need to read more. Do you know how many degrees I have? Do you know how much reading I have to do? Not only at that time, but now the research I have to do all the time, especially when I have to address those persons who are non-believers. They cannot believe that Sanatana Dharma is so great. And I'm showing you how great it is. Because when you think about it, anything that came from India around that time was through Sanatana Dharma. Whether it be the Vaisya or the Kshatriyas traveling through the world as soldiers, as tradesmen, as merchants. We did it then, and we continue to do it now. That's why India is rising, Bangladesh is rising. You can't stop Modi, and you cannot stop us Sanatanists for bringing to the world all the truth that you try to bury for thousands of years. One day you'll find out that, hey, these Sanatanists knows what they're talking about. Jai Shri Ram.